Hello my friends, it's your brother Hampton. I'm a content creator and business owner, and I want to talk about why I enjoy spending hundreds of personal hours and thousands of combined hours building projects, ultimately to release them for free or to offer a free version. And I enjoy doing that. So I want to talk about why I do this, how I'm able to do this, how it's benefited me, and why you may want to consider doing the same, even if you are a business owner whose goal is to make money, even if you need to make money, and how this can ultimately benefit you, not just from a moral standpoint of trying to help other people, but a business standpoint where it benefits you and your team. Because I relate. I also have bills to pay. I have a team to feed. I have a family that I want to take care of. But I also like doing this, not just as from a moral standpoint of trying to give to other people, but also as a good business move. Early on, people told me that I was a decent person, but not a great business person. And I spent a few years reconciling that in my mind. Here's why I still think offering a free version of the thing that you're spending a lot of time on, a lot of time building, can be a good idea. I thought about this yesterday. I was brainstorming this video, and a lot of them usually come up as ideas that I can riff and answer in maybe just a few minutes. And then I think about it and I go deeper. And that's why they usually end up being like 20, sometimes 30 minutes. But I was thinking about it. And the foundation of my answer actually I had to take a step back from. Because first, I think it revolves around what you think the purpose of a business is. What is the purpose of a business existing? Because some people would say a business exists to make money, right? But I would say a business, from my viewpoint, is supposed to exist to solve problems or offer something valuable to other people. Now, that very much is an ideological perspective in the sense that you could debate that and say, no, it's actually for this. I'm definitely aware there are some businesses that are very much for profit, and if they had some kind of pure intent, that ship may have sailed a while ago, and they're just there to make money and profit for shareholders and the people who own the business. I understand there's a lot of bad businesses, perhaps, in the world. It's debatable, but on like which ones those are. But I fully believe and understand there are bad businesses in the world. But from my viewpoint of starting a business, why I would want to start a business is to solve a problem and offer something valuable for others, right? And my viewpoint of like why it's not there just to make money is because I think there are other things that I could do that are easier than starting and running a business to make money. So, from this viewpoint, if we adopt this idea of a business existing to solve problems, then we take a step back from pricing. When we say you spend 1,000 hours writing a book, 1,000 hours creating a course, 1,000 hours creating a very bouncy ball, the world's bounciest ball. Actually, I think that'd be pretty interesting. If someone made that, I want to check it out. But you spend a lot of time making this, and you think, well, what are we going to price this at? And it does depend on if it's a physical or digital product. But you spend a lot of time thinking this, then eventually you come down to having to make a choice. When you spend a lot of time on this, and you're like, man, I can't wait for people to see this thing. I think people will really like it. Early data says that a lot of people want it. We have pre-orders. Cool. So you spend a lot of time building this thing. And then you have to choose between, well, do you want a lot of people to see it, or do you want to make the most money? Because that's actually two different things that we can optimize for. And it's interesting because contrary to what some people may think, a lot of business owners I know, which granted are like online entrepreneurial, relatively small businesses. Some of them are up to medium-sized businesses, which the definition depends on that, but some people say medium-sized doesn't exist until you make over $10 million a year. That's a medium-sized business. Small and medium-sized businesses, a couple of large businesses, most of them, talking to them, wouldn't just say their goal is to make money. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. There's usually some facet of saying, well, I want to do this to help other people. And you can choose not to believe it if you want. But usually it's at least somewhat split between making money, yes, having some financial freedom, yes. But also they want their message and their projects and to reach people and impact people, hopefully positively. So it's not immediately obvious which one we should choose, right? Do we want to optimize for reach, or do we want to optimize for profit, right? Because you can see from here, when you have your world's bounciest ball or your video or your book, that your pricing will determine how close to these poles you go. And as you can see, thankfully, it's not absolute. There's a little bit of a spectrum there where you can make something a little bit closer to free, a little bit closer to optimizing for profit. And there are some good reasons for doing that, I think, outside of just making money. Even if your goal is to help people, if you want to optimize for profit on this product, there are some reasons for that. So we see here from pricing that we have to make a choice. Now, if your goal is to help as many people as possible and to reach as many people as possible, then you would think you would want to choose this, right? And then there are immediately some issues, because if you have a digital product, you can offer it pretty close to free, right? You can say, well, I spent all this time, it's sunk cost, and if you make money from somewhere else, then you can say, I'm just gonna offer this available for free. You can just have this available for free. If it's physical, then the free version would be offering it at cost, because otherwise you'd be making negative money, which some people do for some things. And just to quickly answer the question I posed in the first part of this video, the reason why I often choose to offer something for free or have a free option is because after having gone through this journey of trying to make this really good and spending a lot of time on it and working with other people on it, which is really fun, I usually want to reach more people, right? This thing that I spent a lot of time on, I'm usually kind of giddy, like whether it's a book or a course or a website, a fitness website, or a fitness app. I'm like, I want people to really see it and be like, wow, this is great. And like, it's kind of a sharing at that journey of like, man, this part I was really confused about how to make this good, and then I tweaked it, and now it works so much better. And then, you know, imagine telling that to 10 people versus 10,000, right? 10 people are like, wow, that's great, and 10,000 people are like, ah, this is the best bouncy ball ever, right? So there's kind of this idea in my mind where I'm like, I want that. But hang on. As I mentioned, sometimes leaning more towards profit isn't necessarily a bad thing. It really depends on your ultimate goal. Once again, going into business, if your goal is to help people, if it's to solve problems, then you may have vastly different ideas on the problems that you're going to solve. If your goal is to ultimately save the human race, or not even that, just like help the environmental problems that we have going around in the world in a way that people find acceptable, right? And like people will actually adopt. It's like, interesting. How much will that cost? Like $10 trillion. And it's like, wow, unless you have $10 trillion now, if your goal is to get $10 trillion to build this thing and to do this thing, let's say you actually have a solid plan and it actually works, $10 trillion, unless you have that now, then your world's bounciest ball better make a lot of money to help contribute towards that, because $10 trillion is a lot of money. So you can see that you can optimize some products to ultimately build towards a bigger goal, because you're working towards a greater goal of solving this thing potentially for free. That big thing can solve a lot of problems for a lot of people that you're doing for free, and then the people who want to buy bouncy balls can just buy bouncy balls. Now, once again, it doesn't have to be quite that grandiose. So most of us probably don't have this $10 trillion idea that we need right now, but we usually, a lot more of us, especially business owners and aspiring business owners who want to start something and they're watching this channel, they usually have something that's like, well, I do have bills to pay, first and foremost, right? So usually close to first and foremost, bills to pay, family to feed, right? Friends to help, right? And if you're along the journey a little bit, maybe a partner that you have to pay, right? Or you get paid together, or a team that you have to pay. So these are all very valid things. So you need a little bit of money just to keep everything rolling so you can keep doing these projects. So while we can choose closer to this pole of doing something for free, we don't quite have to do it for everything for free. And there's a few different ways you can do this. You can make it probably just affordable enough, right? So not optimizing for profit. So let's say that your bouncy ball, right? So like you could market it for $29, and that's a very bouncy ball, and like some people really like it. You can like sell it to the bouncy ball league, and a lot of people will buy it. And let's just say that $30 is the hypothetical sweet spot for making the most amount of money and revenue for this ball. It drives some people away, but not enough to where there's still a lot of people buying it, and you can really make a lot more than if you sold it for, say, $10. Now, if you sold it for $10, a lot more people would get it, but you'd make less money. So you can lean towards that. You can just have an affordable option. You can also have a free version and some parts paid. So we see this with apps, for example. So you can do, there's a free part, hopefully a good free part that people actually like, and then you can pay for some extra features. You can do something for free and then offer a paid version. So for my example, I have an online free fitness routine that we spend a lot of time on, hypercalisthenics.com/routine, and that's available for free. And then you can buy a book version or a card version, or soon to be like really, well, no, the app is also free, but like you can buy different versions of that. You can have it online if you want it, or you can buy a book version if you want a book. There's an ebook version if you want an ebook. So there's different ways that you can make it closer to the free pole. By the way, I was going to use this as my example of like the best product you can make, which I think this is just masking tape painter's tape, and I was going to use that as an example, but I set it over there to the side and I wasn't looking at it, so I forgot. So this was going to be the example of what was going to be the bounciest ball. It's clearly not a ball, it is just some tape. But if you saw this in the thumbnail, that's why it was there. But I want to give another example of the affordability factor, because there is a way to price your thing so standardly, not necessarily low, but so standardly that it becomes a non-issue for the people that regularly buy it. So an example of this is movie tickets. So in the US where I am, they used to be like $9. Now I think they're $11 in my area for a movie. And while that does drive away some people, the people that regularly are open to going to movies, when they see a movie, they don't necessarily think, I want to see this, but the price is driving me away. Usually the deciding factor is whether or not they want to see that movie. And if they do, they pay it. And if not, they don't buy it, right? Once again, it drives some people away, but the people who regularly use that have already accepted that as a cost. Another example could be, lattes at like a fancy-ish coffee shop, or just a regular coffee shop nowadays. A $3 latte, right? Some people, like back, if you rewind like 20, 30 years ago, people are like, wow, that's so expensive. There's no way I do that. Nowadays, it's fairly standard. So if you offer a $3 latte, that would drive away people that don't want $3 lattes, but there's already a market for people who want to buy a good $3 latte. And if you make it really good, the really deciding factor is whether or not they actually want a latte right now, not whether or not they want to spend $3. Once again, with some exceptions. But that's one way where you can make the affordability so standardized that the price is basically a non-issue for people who regularly buy that thing, which can really help if you're trying to reach more people rather than make more money. So you can make it very close to standard. Another thing for free versions is you can also offer an implementation, right? So one of the things I get asked for on this channel, which I have no plans to monetize at the moment. I think we'll turn on ads after we get to a certain amount, and YouTube will start placing ads, whether or not I want it on the YouTube channel. So beyond that, I don't really have plans to monetize this. But one request I sometimes get is like, hey, I see your business videos. Can you help me do a coaching call? And every once in a while, I'll just say yes, but I'll just do it for free, right? And it's not, I really don't have an end game for that. Eventually, I could, I guess. I don't, the coaching calls, if I want to spend time on your business and time on the thing, I want it to be really good for you. And if I'm just spending an hour, we could do it, but an hour, I am low on time trying to catch up with my other commitments. So that's why I usually lean away from that. And when I do it, usually because I like the person, I like their business, and I want to do it for free. But that's one example of how some business channels and content creation channels do it. They offer their information for free. However, if you want help with implementation, then you can pay them an amount for an hour or 2 hours or like a channel audit, something like that. So you can have the information for free. Then if they want implementation, then that can be a paid service. And actually, that's a good example to use to showcase the difference that we're talking about here between maximizing profit and maximizing reach. So let's think about a video course. So originally my idea here was a video, but I feel like a lot of people may not necessarily see the value of a video. So a video course, which you really could just combine into one video. So it's essentially a video, but broken up. If you make it several videos, then you can call it a course. So really, to think about that next time you're buying a course, it could just be really just paying for a long video, but it's broken up into different modules. There's text between those modules, so something to think about. But let's say that there is a video course on whatever subject of expertise you might have. So it could be business or social media, but it could also be fishing. I use that as an example. Cooking as another example. I use business a lot because people in the business coaching industry often have relatively higher prices because people will pay those, and it's more of a direct exchange for their money investment. So let's say, oh, I'll pay $100 for this. Can I make at least $100 back? And usually the answer is yes. So it's you see, that's why like there's higher prices, because people who invest it usually are trying to get more money back from it, or some more impact back from it. So that's why there's higher prices. But let's say there's a course on a subject matter, and you already have a decent sized audience, let's say. So if you released it as a video or a series of videos, then you could get 100,000 people to see it. And then you would essentially make no money from it. You would just put it on YouTube, for example, or you can make ad revenue from it. And let's say it's not a business one, but it's more of a standard gaming style course or something. So for 100,000 views at a $3 RPM, you would make $300. So 100,000 views, $300. And that's 100,000 views total, not each video, because then that would be $300 times however many videos you have. So 100,000 views total. However, if you were to take that same base of the 100,000 potential viewers, people interested in your stuff, and you were to charge them $100 for this. And that would make sense for perhaps a business course, because people would say, well, I can pay $100 and I might be able to make $200 from it. That'd be great. So you would charge them $100 for this. Let's say if you have a business audience and it converts at 1% and you have 1,000 people buy it. So 1,000 people times $100, that would be $100,000. So from here, you see this example. You can either choose to reach 1,000 people but make $100,000, or reach 100,000 people and make $300. Neither one is necessarily right or wrong. It depends on what you want to do. And if you spend a lot of time on this, and from my viewpoint, if it's something that I really like and I care about, I usually lean towards trying to reach 100,000 people and making less money from it, as long as it's enough to pay my bills and help other people. But there could also be reasons why you need or want money right now, even if it's just to fund something that ultimately helps a lot of people in the future, to where you may want to get closer to maximizing profit. By the way, through this entire video, when I say maximizing profit, I still mean in exchange for delivering something good for the people that buy it. So not maximizing profit at the cost of hurting other people, but maximizing profit while still delivering something good to the people who buy it. And now I want to touch upon what makes all of this possible, because it may not have always been possible, and it isn't always possible. And then I'll touch upon something that you may want to consider when deciding whether to do more things for free or when to sometimes optimize for profit while still helping people. What makes a lot of these examples that I'm talking about here and in many other videos, what makes it possible is scale. And I used to say that came with the internet, but it really just came as international trade, and humans became more and more connected, and we have access to more people potentially seeing things. Because without the power of larger scale, a lot of these conversion metrics don't add up high enough to where it can sustain you. And I'll give you an example. So when I mention converting 100,000 people at 1%, so if you have 1,000 people that would buy your thing, that will impact what you can charge and what you can do. Because the more people you have that can see and buy your thing, generally, the more flexibility you may have in what you can charge and what you can offer. Because if you have 100,000 people to see your thing and 1,000 people will buy it, then yes, you can charge $100 for it and make $100,000. And assuming you want to make that per year and you can sustain up $100,000 per year. It really depends on the place in the world that you're at. But let's say you're trying to do this once per year, then you can do it once per year. However, if you aren't as connected and you can't reach as many people and you're reaching a maximum pool of 100 people and you're still converting at 1%, then that would mean that the one thing that you make that year, one person will buy it. Let's say it's 100 people in your town. And if you charge $100 for that, then you will make $100 that year. And assuming that we're stepping out of just hypotheticals and going into the idea that you may have bills to pay, people to feed, people to help, you may not be able to live off $100 a year. So you would have to charge something a little bit higher or just do something else entirely. And this also definitely affects, probably even more, the other side of the spectrum where you're trying to maximize reach while still leaving enough room to make enough money to survive. Survive, thrive, and grow, actually. Because to revisit our example and adjust it a little bit, so instead of 100,000 people viewing your thing and you making $300, which for most content creators, if you're releasing something, you can usually make several videos, a lot of videos in 1 year. So it wouldn't just be a one and done thing. So let's adjust it a little bit and saying in total you get not 100,000 views, but let's say 10 million views in 1 year. In 10 million views, you can generate $30,000. Now, in some places, you may not be able to live off that, but let's say there are some parts in the US, for example, and other parts of the world where you can live off that. There are some places in the world where you can thrive off that. So you can, not making as much money as $100,000, but you're making $30,000 enough to grow and thrive. However, from that 10 million number, if we don't have access to scale, if we have a much smaller scale and we don't have the ability to reach a lot of people around the world and in the country where you are. So if the number goes down even by half, that would be $15,000. And if it goes down 90% and you're getting 1 million views a year, that'd be $3,000. Pretty good if you're making one video, but if it's all in 1 year and you get 1 million views in a year, it can be a little harder to survive off $3,000. And if you're getting 100,000 views in a year and you're making $300, pretty hard to survive off that for an entire year. Pretty hard to make a living, pretty hard to grow a business on that. And that's one of the reasons we do what we do, why I encourage people who are willing to do it, who are willing to be on social media to grow their scale. Because as you have more scale, as more people are familiar with your stuff, then you're able to do more things with a little bit more freedom. So you can offer something that only 100 people will want, but you can charge a higher amount for. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Or you can offer something basically for free and just thrive off the ad revenue. There are some content creators who do hundreds of millions of views per year, if not over 1 billion views per year. And they pretty much never have to charge for anything in a way that other people feel like they're paying, because it's just ads or something else. Like they could just do all their videos for free, of course, but enough people want to buy merch that gives them enough money to live on, enough money to thrive on if you're doing billions of views a year. As I mentioned every once in a while, there are many potential downsides that come with the internet, and I understand them, right? It's something we should be aware of. But then there are also some potential upsides, and a lot of us are on social media, we're on the internet, and one of the things that we could potentially use to our advantage and to help others is the power of scale that we achieve through the internet. That's one extra hidden, but not so hidden, bonus feature of doing a lot more things for free is it can help increase your scale, because if you do things for free and other people spread it and it reaches people, and we're basically compounding their word of mouth, because the more people see it and the more people want to tell other people about it, the more people can hear about you, and the more people you can actually help with your cool thing, the more skill you'll have, as long as people like your thing. The thing still has to be good, of course. So doing things for free and doing them well can help increase your scale, which is one thing we're doing with videos, one thing we're doing with blog posts, one thing we're doing with podcasts, and something you can definitely consider for yourself depending on what you want to do. But I want to talk about whether or not you want to lean towards doing more things for free, or whether you want to optimize some projects for revenue. And it really depends on, once again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, what is the purpose of your business? Because if you want to help people, that's great. How do you want to help them, right? And this answer will change if you're getting into business, you're starting on this journey. It often will change as you continue to grow, because your circumstances will change. So a lot of people do get into business. I know, like, helping people is great, but a lot of them want to be financially free, whatever that might mean to you. They want to be not necessarily rich, but they want to maybe get out of the grind of always worrying about bills. And running a business can really increase your stress sometimes, but a lot of people get into it with the hope of one day being a little bit more free with their time and their money. So with this in mind, a lot of times they'll choose, hey, I need to optimize for profit a little bit because I'm not making a whole lot of money, and I do have a part-time assistant that I'm paying, and I want to take care of them, I want to take care of my family, so I do need to optimize for profit. I get that. So once again, if you're doing good things for other people, you're building good things to help them, and you have the intent to want to help them, by all means, occasionally get paid, because you need to pay other people, you need to pay bills. Optimize for revenue and optimize for profit. I get that. However, as you go into it, maybe a few years, sometimes over a decade, a few decades even, as you continue to grow, you'll say, hey, so I actually passed that point a little while ago. So now I have enough to pay bills reasonably and pay my own bills and pay the bills of my employees and even grow a little bit. So after you hit this point, which can happen relatively early on for some people, then you start thinking, well, what do I want to do with my business? What impact do I actually want to have with the things I do? And that's when you can really start making this decision. Because if your goal is to help people, is to maximize reach with information, especially things like that, then you can lean quite a bit towards the side of doing things for free, because information and the distribution of it with the internet and in this digital age, once again, downsides, but an upside is we can receive and transfer information fairly quickly nowadays. You can do that for close to free, and you can do other stuff on the side, once again, with like video examples, merch examples, close to free, and you can make well enough with enough scale to survive, thrive, and grow, and still do all the things you want. So big goals don't always necessarily cost a lot of money. You could write a life-changing book, make a life-changing video that saves lives or really turns someone's life around for free. Right, you can put it on YouTube and they can watch it for free. You can put it on your website and they can read it for free. So these are some things you can consider. But then there are also some people with very big goals, right, who want, like, man, it's not enough that I write a book. I want to shift like this, I want to shift nations. Let's say you want to do it for a good reason, because I only want to help people who want to do things for good reasons. So you want to you need 100,000 people to do this, and paying 100,000 people costs a lot of money. So you need millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Then you may want to consider doing stuff that still helps people, but helps build enough money to help you towards that goal. And that can still be valuable. You don't have to choose just one or the other, because in your life, you probably will build multiple projects. And some of them it can be closer to free, some of them can be a little bit more expensive. And I want to talk about something, close out with something that is a thought I had a little while ago. And it can be an example of how we can use different parts of this. Because I have done different things, some for free, some for a little bit less, some for basically a standardized price. And in the future, this is relatively early on, I still want to lean towards a business model for maybe not even hybrid, maybe it's something else that we do. I have a few ideas that I'm working with, where we basically make expensive things and sell expensive things that really help people that can easily afford them. Think like expensive clothing that really helps doctors who want to buy them, or lawyers who want to buy them. And for me, it really would be more like a fitness thing. So it'd be like, let's say, a $5,000 fitness setup, but very optimized, very high tech, helps a lot of people, or actually not helps a lot of people, but helps people who buy it. Now, $5,000, this could be a good litmus test. Most of you will look at that and be like, no way, right? And I agree, you probably won't need it, right? But some of you will say, tell me more, what does it do? Right? And this will be marketed towards you. So I could do that and have relatively few customers, relatively few people, and really try to spoil them and do good for them. And very importantly, actually make it worth $5,000 to them. So it actually really help. And I don't want to do it if it can't really help. And I have a few ideas for that, but depending on how well we make it, we could serve a couple hundred customers a year. Not a lot of people. However, with that money, I am able to do more things for free. I can build more apps for free. I can offer more services where you can consult physical therapists, you can consult fitness trainers. Just an example. Actually, not just an example. We have the fitness trainer thing for free right now. Support.hybridcalisthenics.com. But I can use that to fund the resources for more people. So a very voluntary sell to 1% of people to better help 99% of people. Ideally, everyone is happy with that. This is an idea that I've been running around, and that is something that I want to lean towards, but multiple considerations. First of all, making something very good worth $5,000 takes some time. And actually, it takes some money to make it really good. Not only the product itself, conceptualizing it, building it, manufacturing it, but also, of course, supporting it, right? Because usually, if something's relatively high tier, people also expect high tier customer support and service. A lot of different considerations can go into that. I'll update you as I know more. But once again, I only want to do it if I can do it well, because ultimately the goal is to help people, hopefully help a lot of people, and bring positive impact and change to the world. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day, my friend. This tea is cold now.